Right now we go live to Tucson, where Aztecs assistant coach Brian Dutcher is nice enough to join us on Extra Sports. Coach, great to have you on the show. How's life in the desert today?
Well, it's pretty nice. We got done with our shoot-around. We did our film session, and we'll do a little walkthrough in the ballroom here in a couple hours.
Very nice. Let me ask you, the approach to a game like this, do you want it to be business as usual, treat it like any other game, or do you want your players to understand the magnitude of March Madness?
You know, if you're not business as usual, you run the risk of being overexcited, doing things that you haven't done all year. And so we're expressing to the team that let's just play our game, do what we've done all year, and know that the team we're playing is very good. And I think we've done a good job of prepping them up to this point.
Coach, I can only imagine that it's not exactly easy to find a whole bunch of tape on Northern Colorado unless you're asking someone from the Big Sky. So how much tape have you gotten to see, and what do you think about this team you're going up against tomorrow?
With this day and age and with your ability to get stuff online, we did an open film exchange with Northern Colorado, so we got all their games online. They got all our games. And so we've seen them play. We've watched all their games and feel we have a pretty good handle on what they're going to try to do to us tomorrow.
And I know your players will not overlook them because a few years ago you played them and you actually lost at Viejas Arena. Does that help in any way? Could that benefit you, the fact that you've already seen this team a few years ago?
Absolutely. We watched, matter of fact, we watched cutouts today on all the offensive rebounds we gave up to them over the last two times we played them, in Greeley and also back at Cox Arena. And, for Tim Shelton and Billy White and DJ to see themselves on the floor against a lot of the same players that were here 4 years ago, I think is beneficial. Because sometimes you say, boy, this team really rebounds, and your guys look at you and go, well, yeah, it's the Big Sky. But when you can put tape on and show them having success against you in the past, I think that wakes the kids up a little bit more and gets them a little bit more anxious about, hey, boy, we better do a good job.
Coach, it seems like the signature player is senior guard Devin Beitzel. I heard Coach Fisher refer to him, as being a good scorer and kind of ended his quote about him, referring to him kind of like Jimmer Fredette. Is that something that Coach is just planting a seed so his players take him seriously, or do you see a little bit of Jimmer when you watch this guy Beitzel?
I think it's a little of both. Obviously, we want our team to respect him as a player, and when you throw the Jimmer comparison on him, it's going to get their attention. He runs off a lot more screens than Jimmer does. Jimmer has the ball in his hands a lot more off ball screens, but he's very savvy like Jimmer. He's not as big, but he can shoot the three coming off the screen, and if you chase too hard and he can get you off your feet, he'll jump into you to draw fouls. So in that regard, he's very savvy when he has the ball. He's able to draw contact and get people jumping, and he's a very good player.
We're talking to Aztecs assistant head coach Brian Dutcher on Extra Sports. Coach, we are superstitious, so we're not really talking about Temple, Penn State, the winner of that game. But are you allowed to watch a little game tape on Temple, Penn State? Not saying that Northern Colorado's a gimme, but just so you can prepare with more time?
We all have certain scouts, and, Mark Fisher and Justin, even though I watch 5 Northern Colorado tapes, I've been watching Temple for 2 days now and trying to set my mind on how we'll play certain things they do if we run into them. And then Justin has started on Penn State. So the team, we keep them focused on the task at hand. But as coaches, we have to play in advance. We have to think in advance. And I'm fully into Temple right now and getting ready for hopefully a second-round matchup with one of those two teams.
Coach, Josh and I were just talking about who do we think has to have, a high level of performance for this team to go deep into the tournament. Of course, Billy White's name comes up, DJ Gay's name comes up, Malcolm Thomas, Kawhi, of course. But I think if you have to you're gonna have to get a consistent performance from Chase Tapley if you guys are going to go deep into this thing. I know he's played well, he's had some ups and downs, but if he plays a consistent form of basketball, you guys can do something really special, I think. Yeah,
the beauty of our team is any given night, someone can put up a huge game like Billy did in the conference tournament against BYU, 30 against Gonzaga earlier in the year. Chase has had games where he'll have 22, 24 points. So the nice thing about their team is no one's out there really hunting their shots. If it happens to be their game and things are flowing for them, I think we do a good job of getting that person the ball and know that they're in a zone. So we're hard to guard because any given night a guy can have that kind of performance for us. Mm-hmm. With that being said, at tournament time, they always say you got to be solid up the middle, which is point guard and center. And so we need DJ to take care of the ball, to run the team, and we need Malcolm to be a physical presence underneath, both offensively, defensively, and then most importantly, rebounding that basketball.
Northern Colorado tomorrow, 1:40 tip-off in Tucson. Coach, before you go, we got to ask you about the Fab Five documentary. It was spectacular. When you saw the finished product, were you pleased?
I thought the production of it was, over the top. I thought the way they taped the interviews and then the footage they had from Europe, of course, which they got from me, that was my Europe tape. And then just the interviews and the highlights, I thought it was really well put together. And I think it was through their eyes, which was important. Whether you like their views or don't like their views, I think it was a accurate portrayal of how the kids felt about their experience.
In retrospect, was it you who said maybe we shouldn't have gone to Europe? Maybe it was a little too exhausting, felt too much like a professional trip?
It was, I think we were all excited to go, but with the intention of that we probably wouldn't have played as long as we did with 5 freshmen. But when the season went that extra 3 weeks, freshmen, they want to go home and be with their families, and so they didn't want to go to Europe. They wanted to go home. So in retrospect, but a trip like that, you can't change your mind at the last minute and say, well, let's just not go.
Yeah.
The plans were made, and I think looking back, the kids, like all kids, they're going to say we didn't appreciate it at the time, but it was a once-in-a-lifetime experience for us.
I'm happy you had that footage. That was some of my favorite stuff in the documentary. Coach, it was great. We're wishing you the absolute best, wishing you success. Thanks for joining the show.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate you having me.